Good evening. Welcome to Power and Politics. I'm Stone Grissom. Well, the Democrats now have complete control of government in Albany. And here with me now is one of those Democrats who helped make that happen, State Senator Anna Kaplan. The senator represents the 7th district that covers the westernmost part of Long Island's North Shore. Welcome to News 12's Power and Politics. Appreciate your time. Now, we talked about this before. You're in your first term. You got comfortable. The state budget has now been passed. Are you satisfied with, because it was a pretty progressive budget and pretty wide sweeping. Are you satisfied with it?
So, good evening, Stone. Thank you for the opportunity to come here. Am I satisfied with the budget? I don't think anybody would be 100% satisfied with the budget.
Okay.
But I can tell you I'm proud of this budget.
Okay.
63 senators, 150 assembly members, an executive, Andrew Cuomo, all of us really coming together and all of us giving something to get something. For me, public schools were one of my priorities. And one of my campaign really promises to bring more back for public schools. And I'm proud to say we got an increase of 3.6% throughout the state.
Right.
And I got 8.3%
Your district did
in my
exceptionally
district.
well, right? Exceptionally
Yes.
well. So
Yes.
you should be proud of that as well.
I am.
What about some of the other permanent property tax cap, school funding? Again, you talked about that. The fight for opioid crisis.
Those are all amazing.
Okay.
You know, to pass a permanent 2% tax cap was a huge deal for us. Again, another campaign promise.
Right.
It really feels good to make those campaign promises come into reality for our constituents and our residents. The days that taxes would rise 6, 8, 10%, those were the days that our residents really thought twice about staying here and couldn't really afford, especially people who are on fixed income, our seniors. We really have to take into consideration and make sure these communities that they helped build are still welcoming to them.
Now, you said earlier that you weren't totally satisfied with the state budget. What's missing from it that you would have liked to have seen in there?
You always want more funding. I have to tell you, I meet with a lot of different people, a lot of different lobbyists, a lot of different organizations who come and ask for funding. A lot of really organizations that do great work. And you want to deliver for them because you believe in them. And I'm really happy about record-breaking numbers for our opioid crisis.
All right.
I'm particularly happy today because we had an opening of Thrive Nassau, which opened in my district, which really is very helpful, hopefully to Nassau residents. Before, a lot of our residents had to travel all the way to Suffolk to get some of these services, to be able to go into recovery and to have some support. Those are really important issues for my district and for all of Long Island. For us to be able to bring those fundings to support these institutions was a big issue for me.
Right. Well, in addition to my questions, we also went out into the community. We asked people to pose questions to you, the questions they would like to have answered. So let's go to that right now. Let's start off with Mark. Here's what he wanted to know.
So my name's Mark. My question I pose to you is, how do you plan on enacting gun reform without taking away our Second Amendment rights as American citizens?
So I'm very proud of our accomplishment. Part of the budget also was all the gun legislations that we put forward. Within the first 100 days, we banned bump stocks. We extended the purchase time to 30 days. We banned, just yesterday, I co-sponsored a bill to ban the 3Ds, what's known as ghost guns.
Yeah, a 3D printer
Banning
can
those.
make a gun and it's
That's right.
completely untraceable.
That's right. To pass red flag law was a big issue for me, to make sure that we give a way for our law enforcement, school administrators, or family members to go and petition a court to take guns away from an individual who could be a threat to themselves and their community.
Does that give too much discretion to judges and to school officials to?
I don't think so, because I think based on just looking at what is happening in our country, I think it's really important for us to make sure the guns end up in the hands of people who can account for them. So, and I think it is a discretion of a judge. And I believe that they will use their discretion to make sure that they are issuing the appropriate, obviously, documents if they see there is a need for it. And they won't if there is no need for it. Another safety storage gun law was a big issue also, where if you have children under 16, you are required to store your gun properly. And I think that alone shows us the statistics that should reduce 33% of fatality in young children in households. Anything that we could do as legislators to make sure that we are really passing legislation that benefits the greater community, the entire
and balancing
state.
the Second Amendment as well. I mean, looking at that as well.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's go to another question. This is from Dennis. This is what he's concerned about.
I'm Dennis. I live in Nassau County. And I have a question about the property taxes. Every year the property tax keep going up. And we get no help from the local government about reducing the property taxes. So can we get a little help? Can you help us?
That could be from anyone.
That could be from anyone. And yes, I agree we pay a lot in taxes. And I definitely understand and feel for all of our residents. We moved to these areas because of our wonderful public schools. And we want green spaces for our family. So I think that 2% tax cap that's permanent is going to be very helpful. And what we could also do as electeds, someone like me could try to bring more funding back to the district for different purposes. For example, for schools, because we know they're also under restrictions to stay within that 2% tax cap, and they have some expenses that they would need more. But for me to bring in capital money so that they could make those capital improvements within the public schools and their schools for the residents so that their taxes don't go up. We also restored AIM funding, the aid to the municipalities, so that, again, that way each village or town will not be charging their taxpayers further for the expense that they have.
All right, so let's go to, we got a couple of on-camera questions. Let's go to our Twitter feed. This is from our News 12 Twitter account. This is from Dan. He tweeted us this. When are they finally going to legalize marijuana and help boost the local economy with this new revenue? I know this has been addressed a little bit, but I'll let you respond to that.
So there was some conversation for this to have been part of the budget. It was taken out of the budget.
Now, why was that? Why was it taken out? Did it not have support from the Democrats?
I think it's a concern for a lot of us. I can tell you I've met with a lot of school administrators, a lot of parents, a lot of people who deal with substance abuse, and they have some very valid points. And I take those points of view very seriously. I tell all my constituents, I am your voice. It's not about what I believe. I would like to do right by the majority of the people that I represent. This is a very big concern, and also it's a very big concern because of safety, and our law enforcement is not really behind this. And we need to really address those concerns and those issues before we make marijuana.
I've asked a lot of politicians this same question, and I'll ask you as well. What do you say to the critics of the people on the other side who are for legalization? If neighboring states are doing it, it's not that hard to go to a neighboring state and get it legally and bring it back, so why are we missing out on that revenue? How would you respond to that?
Because I think at the end of the day, it's not just about revenue. It's about safety and doing the right thing for our constituents. For me, it is. I do understand that, and I do get the point that there'll be people who cross the state line, make their purchases, come back, and we still have to deal with that. But again, I would like to make sure we can address some of these concerns that we have now, to have a way that we can detect, or our law enforcement can detect, if someone is under influence. None of that has been really come to a level that we can count on. And I'm looking forward to seeing more results where we can set us in that right path.
Okay. Let's see if we can squeeze in one more question before the break real quick. This is again from our Twitter feed. News 12 Twitter fan wants to know this. Are you against or in favor of driver's licenses for, he's using the term illegal aliens, I'll just say undocumented individuals here in the country?
So that has been an issue that I've actually heard from a lot from my constituents on both sides. There are people who are very much in support of this, and there are people who are not in support. For me, I rely on our law enforcement for their input. And they've raised some very serious concerns about what kind of records would be available to them, what kind of records will not be available to them. And I know that they're talking about some amendments to the bill, to the legislation, and hopefully we can get the law enforcement behind this. And at that point, it's more actually for us to discuss in the Senate conference and bringing the bill to the floor.
Okay, I have a couple of follow-up questions on that real quick, but we're going to take a real quick break so we come back and have more time. We're going to be right back with more from State Senator Anna Kaplan when News 12's Power in Politics continues. Hey, welcome back to News 12's Power in Politics. Once again, I am joined by State Senator Anna Kaplan. She represents the 7th District. That covers the western North Shore of Long Island. Before the break, we were talking about the issue from one of our viewers on Twitter about the issue of illegal immigrants getting driver's licenses. You gave your point as far as safety. You want to hear from people. Let me just follow up on that and try to get flesh that topic out a little bit more. What do you say about the person who might get into an accident with someone who doesn't have a driver?
I totally agree. I think everyone would agree that we want people to go through a permit process, to go through a road test, to have their eyes checked, and to get a license, and to have insurance.
Right.
Absolutely. That's something we can all agree on. I just would like to have the legislation amended in a way that puts the fear and the concerns of our law enforcement at ease.
Is this something that's going to be a topic of discussion in the legislature?
We are still discussing it.
Okay. So that's something that might come up.
Yes.
All right. All right, let's go to Patricia. She, from our Facebook page on News 12, this is her question. Will you be voting for the New York Health Act? And then she puts her opinion. I hope so. Get your response.
So I truly believe that every New Yorker should have access to the best health care, affordable health care.
Are you for universal health care for New Yorkers?
I am for something that would make sense,
okay.
Something that really could work out. I think overhauling New York healthcare system is a very big task. It's a very important task. And I'm just really happy to say that Senate and Assembly are conducting hearings. The first one will be on May 28th, which I will attend. I want to hear from residents. I want to hear from providers. I want to hear from experts. And we really need to flush this out. This is not something that we can rush into. We need to make sure the plan that we come up with can actually work and work well for everyone.
Now, we discussed the same issue with State Senator Jim Gorin, and he had initially been in favor of the New York Health Act and then withdrew his support because he didn't like what was actually in it. Are you in the same position? Do you think there's going to be support here?
I just think there is a lot more things that need to be flushed out. Okay. So I can speak for myself. Even on the campaign trail, I never really committed to anything. I said I am really open to the idea, and I want to, for all of us, to work together to come up with a plan that would work for all of us, all of the residents. In my opinion, it's not there yet. So I'm looking forward to these hearings to see what else we could do, what other ways we can flush this out so that we can come up with a plan.
Okay. Let's go to another question here. This is from Ephraim.
Why are the trains so lousy? It seems they've been repairing like the E and the F train for like 10, 15 years and they still haven't finished. What's taking so long?
So Long Island Railroad has been an issue, and I can tell you they have a new president, Phil Eng. I've met with him several times. I've gone to a lot of hearings. We held one of the first hearings in many, many years where we had a lot of different stakeholders there, listening to everybody, getting their input. And we are putting Long Island Railroad on notice that they need to comply and they need to really have better service, have reasonable timing for commuters so that they are really invested in this to be able to count on their public transportation. But I also believe as representatives, we need to do everything that providing them with every resource that they need to make sure that we have a better accountability on timing. We have cleaner trains. We have newer trains that are supposed to be coming in. The tracks are really maintained and worked on. Better signals, so that there could be an improvement throughout the system, not just focusing on one thing. We're going to hold them accountable.
Okay, it's a big topic. We've been talking about that for years, so we'll see.
Yes.
We'll see if it can finally be solved here. Let's go to another question. This was from Twitter, from Joe. He tweeted this out. Interesting question. How do I go about helping to fight the proposed elderly parole bill? I find the idea reprehensible, and I want my voice heard. It seems many in power are only concerned with the criminals nowadays and are quick to forget the victims. I'll just let you respond to that question.
So I can tell him that I am really not very big supporter of blanket judgment to the people who have served or served till a certain date. I believe we need to never undermine the judge's abilities when it comes to their sentencing. So at this point, I'm not really supportive of this.
Now, we do have an indefinite sentencing structure in New York State,
right.
so they are given some leeway
right.
to the
But
parole
there's
board.
an argument that if you've served until a certain age, you should be eligible. But I think every case is different, and we should look at the merits of each case separately.
Okay, so you're not in favor of legislation that would just give a blanket parole?
I am not.
Okay. All right, let's go to one more question. This is from a Syosset viewer, and this was again on our Twitter page. This is from Lawrence Kaplan. Would you support a bill that rolls back the funding levels of health care benefits for retired New York State employees? Taxpayers are getting pummeled by the costs of these health plans. It's somewhat related to the...
So I see she has the same last name as myself.
Yes. No relation, I'm assuming.
No relation. I'm an old school. I believe when we give our word, we stand by our word. These are contracts that were made with these employees so many years ago, and they took into consideration those benefits for when they were become seniors. So I don't think it's right really to go back on our words and taking those benefits away. I do also understand we are in a place and a time that we need to save money, but I think New York State has done very good transition in having different tiers, and I believe we're already on tier 6, right, where a lot of those benefits have been reduced. But I'm a believer that you can't really, it would be unconscionable to take away seniors' rights right now.
All right, I have a lot more questions. I wish we had more time, but we are unfortunately out of time. Thank you so much. That's all the time we have. Thank you for watching our Power and Politics program right here on News 12.